Hello, my name is Marcus and welcome to Tabletop Reviews. So today I'm bringing you the latest from Ticket to Ride. It is map collection 8, Iberia and South Korea. Just when you thought that we were only going to do the city boxes and they were running out of ideas, there's a release map collection 8 with whole new ideas and whole new setups and mechanics. So let's have a look at the table, see how it's set up and played. Alright, let's set up Iberia and South Korea. For a map collection like this, you need some trains for each player and a scoring point token for each player, but not necessarily train cards. Let's have a look inside the box here. This over here. This one you'll need if you're playing South Korea. I will set up Iberia first and then South Korea. Alright, the map here. And here's what I mean. I could bring them out here. There are some train cards in here. But there is, for Iberia, a big convoluted setup. And here we have a whole bunch of tickets. Tickets for Iberia. Okay. Let me just fold out the map and then tell you about this complicated setup. I'm not gonna go all the way through it, but I will describe it. Okay. Beautiful side of Iberia here. Flip it this way. And I actually just now that I realized Francia is not a town, it's the country of fucking France. You're going into France. That's interesting. They usually do more out of that when you're just going into a country, but it's kind of boring on this one. Anyways, so setup, I'm just gonna need some space here. I'm gonna leave some space the other way so you can see it over here. Take your train cards from Iberia. You take this card and put it to the side. And you take all these cards here with the cities and some numbers down here, all these, and you shuffle these two together. I'm not going to do it just because it's easier for me when I do in the video, but you would shuffle them all together. And then you would of course put these over here, and I'm just going to keep the Sevilla cards. And then you flip over. Oh no, okay, luckily that's a train card, that's a train card. Oh, but that's a country card. So you put that to the side somewhere. It's not very easy because I don't have a lot of place here, but I'm just going to put them here. And then you will flip over and oh, and that's also a country card. No, a city card. And next one, and oh, there's also a city card. And the final fifth one on this one. 3 black ones, yeah, sure. Now this one, before you did this, of course, depending on the player count, would go either half the way, 2/5, 1/4, or 1/5 of the way into the card. It might be 1/3 on one of those, but it depends on if you're 2, 3, 4, or 5 players. It will be a little bit higher up in the deck. I'm just gonna put it like this, sort of to symbolize it. But again, I will draw it out in just a second to show you how it works. Then you have all the tickets here. And now this is where it gets interesting. Shuffle up this ticket here. You will draw out 6 tickets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tickets for each player. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then each player will look at these cards here. They'll choose one. I'm just gonna hope there's a Sevilla one in here. There isn't. Great. Barcelona and Valladolid. Put it to the side and pass it to the left. If you're only 2 players, it's just back and forth. But it's to the left. And then you will get one from your opponent, that, as long as it's not, yeah. We chose this one and gives you these. And then you will look at them and you will go Sevilla. Great, that works great with the cards that were drawn up from this one. Upload it there and pass it along until you have 6 cards. I'm just gonna do it this way here, just to mix them up a little bit. That doesn't work, but okay. There we go. Now you have 6 cards in hand, and you must keep 4 of them. Choose 3 to put out. So, did I draw anything good here? Well, there's Barcelona on 2 of these ones, and Coimbra is in there. So, wasn't Valladolid? No, it's Valencia. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just a setup. I just wanted Sevilla because I dropped these Sevilla cards here. You will of course do this after having taken your tickets, but then you end up with 4 tickets. And now we get into the game. Of course, when drawing cards from here, if you were to draw a city card, let's say I just draw up and the first one's a city, you put the city down and then you still draw 2 cards until you end up with 2 train cards. That's fair enough, but drawing cards. You cannot draw routes for the first bit of the game until you draw out this one. This is a second drafting phase. You draw up 6 more cards and this time you pass it to the right. Again, if you're 2 players, it's just back and forth. But you do that again, end up with 4 more cards, and then you can draw tickets. The regular rules of drawing 4 and placing down. And keeping at least 1, it's called. And when you then put down trains into your cities here, again, you will play with 10 less trains than in a normal game. When you place down a train, let's say I put down one from Sevilla to Cordoba, right? I get to take all of the available city cards from one of those cities. In this instance, I only have available from Sevilla, but I'll take all 3 available. Later in turn, they might come available some more. Because there's at least there's 6 cards in here. And that's basically what it shows here. It's this on the left is how many cards you have, on the bottom is how many cards there are, and on the right is how many points they give. So these 3 cards would be worth 6 points, as it says right there. 6 points, yeah. And this one, only 1 is worth 6 points. That's because there's only 2 of these cards in the game. And it probably has something to do with how many roads go into that city or how many tickets there are to that city. So you can see Leon is all the way up here. There might not be too many interested into that city or something. So yeah, that's how that works. After, yeah, that's how it works. You of course have the ferry routes up here. At the very top here, let me just zoom in because there's actually something interesting to these ferry routes. Oh, that's the wrong way for zooming. Zooming, you have a couple of ferry routes here, and you might just notice it. This ferry route right here is blue. On all other ferry routes we've had, they've all been grey, but this one is blue, and I think that's super awesome. Ferry routes, quickly explain this. They're simple for locomotives. You must use that many locomotives. So it's 3 for this one, 2 for this one, and 1 for these. And then you have 2 additional spaces on all of them. In this case, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4, depending on the map you have. But you must then use that many. On the grey ones, is of course in any color. So if you have 2 reds and then 3 locomotives, or if you have 4 locomotives and 1 red. But on this one, you have to use blue. And it's the first time ever we see a ferry route with a specific color. And guess what? I managed to take that one because of course I wanted to. So that's ferry routes up here, and I think that's about covers everything that's special about it. It's very much these cities and mixed in. That's the interesting part. All right, so I'm gonna take the tickets. I'm gonna take the cities and this card. I'm gonna keep the what's it called? Train cards out. That's why I didn't mix them in. As we now shift over to the not Japan map, the South Korea map. Ugh. Now I do not have enough room, and the reason I don't have enough room is basically because my computer is right there. But for this one, so I'm keeping these set up here. You would need. I should probably zoom out actually, so you can see more. And again, that's the wrong way. These are the kind of things that a professional would edit out, but I think they're funny to keep in. So here we go. South Korea map. Keeping these one down here, of course. You have a little scoring table. Each player will get a set of these as well. A train with a 1, 2, and 3 on them. Each player will get one of those. I'll explain what they do in just a second. And there is a whole bunch of tickets for this game, but yeah. For this one, you will actually keep every single train. The regular 45 or so. And this one is put somewhere to the side. But yeah, this game also asks you to do a drafting round, right? 6 cards, distribute it out, keep at least 4 of them. I'll talk about it in the overview as well, but it feels like, you know, we did it for Iberia, we should probably do it here too. But I'm just gonna draw up 2 random ones. Seoul to Iksan and Daejeon to Taipei. Completely different ends of the map, but you might end up with that through the drafting. So there isn't really anything too special about this one. You draw up cards, it's either 2, or if it's a locomotive, it's only 1. You can take tickets, you draw up 4, you keep 1 of them at least. And you can do this right away, there isn't any like, oh, when this happens, I guess you could add it if you use the Iberia cards over here, because this card's background is the Iberia card. But you could add that if you wanted to, but it isn't in the rules. Or you can put down trains when you have the matching colors. Now there are two interesting things. First of all, you have these trains. They add this amount to the action. So if you draw cards, and you could add 2 and say I would like to draw 4 cards instead of only 2. These only do work with the locomotives, because basically what you do is you draw 2 from the pile and then you do your regular action. So, but it's a one-time use, so when you've used that, it's gone, it's over. You can also use it to draw up more tickets, so you have more of a choice when doing that. Or when you play this down trains, so I'm just gonna pretend I have, of course, placed down some trains. Let's place down the 3 black on this one up here. Place down 3 trains on black. I can then choose to take another train and place it on the black route, which is the bottom route here, on 3, because I placed down 3. If on a future turn I put down 3 more black ones and I want to add one, I can add it on 3, so I have to add it on 2. That's the lowest available. Or I could choose to add one of these cards to that action, adding it that many spaces up. So in this instance, it would either be the 4, 5, or the 6 space, obviously. This can be used in case you have an opponent who's like on the 5 space of green and you just put down a 4, but you want to take them. You could use the +2, go up to 6, right? So this is interesting in terms of scoring, because here you have a table, depending on if you're 2, 3, 4, 5 players. The number 1 person, the person with the highest numbers in here, right, combined. So let's say I had on black, I had one on 2, one on 6. And 6, I had 8, but my opponent was on 4. I obviously have more than my opponent, so I would score the highest. In this instance, it's a 2-player game, so it's just 10 points for the highest, 6 for the second, 4, and then 2. Again, depending on the player count, because the last place always scores 0. What if we are tied? So what if my opponent was on 5 and 3? Because that's 8 as well, as alongside my 6 and my 2. Well, you would look at who has the highest, and I have the highest on the 6, right? The highest solo plate. So I still get the first place. Let's go to those points. You do that for all of these ones, score your tickets, and highest points wins the game. The same in Iberia. So that's how you change to the South Korea map, the Iberia map. And yeah, let's head back up to the table and talk about it. And there we go, that's the setup and the gameplay. Of course, just primarily focusing on what's different with these ones. So the big map for this one is, of course, Iberia. South Korea is sort of in the background here. Let's talk about Iberia first and how it changes up the gameplay. Absolutely brilliant. Drafting routes at the start, forcing you to have 4 routes. That's so interesting. I loved it. At first it was so scary because you had such long routes, and how am I going to complete all of them? And I ended up being completely different parts of the map, both top and bottom, left and right. Because of that. And I thought that was really brilliant. And I thought that was fucking hell. Stopping you from taking more routes, because at some point you're gonna have to do draft again. That's so interesting. You're kind of sitting with a little bit of like, oh god, when is it happening? Please let me finish 2 of these at least before I get 4 new. At 2 players, I think it happens very, very late. You are basically done with your routes when it happens again. And at higher player counts, it happens very, very quickly. So I think that's a tiny thing going against it, that it should happen a quarter of the way through the game, no matter how many players you are. But it's delayed for 2 players and 3 and 4, and of course I haven't played it at 5 yet, but it does say you can. But I've played it 4. It happens very, very quickly in the 4-player game, very, very late in the 2-player games, and decently fast in the 3-player game. So it's a bit there, with it. But otherwise it's brilliant. You have the festival tickets things. I love that they're just a part of the regular trains. Like, that's amazing to me. Of course, you can end up bundling them together to just draw 3 in a row. That depends on how good you are at shuffling. it's a really good thing that then it doesn't do anything to your turn. So it's not like, oh, well, that's a waste of a draw. You get to still draw up 2 train times. But that scoring mechanism is really good. You can take all of them. So when do you go to Barcelona? You know, there's only one now. Do I wait a little bit, see if maybe I can get 2 or 3? It's a thing. And then just as you've decided to go into Sevilla, then, oh, that just popped up 2 Sevilla cards. I've just, ugh. Can you sense that things happen to me in this game? But it's brilliant. That part of it is brilliant. The drafting is such a good addition to it, and it's a beautiful map. It's a really beautiful map. So Iberia, really brilliant map. South Korea, it is a bit of a boring map to look at. It's very square, very marked up, right? Not a lot of colors mixing. That's of course on purpose. That's the regions. That's the extra scoring for South Korea. I do feel like in South Korea, this thing with drafting at the start of the game. When you play on the South Korea map, it's very much just added because it was in Iberia. It wasn't necessary, I don't think. It's fine, it forces you to think a little bit differently about how you're going to do the route. You are forced to have 4 routes, but it's just... That was a null and void addition. It should not have been in South Korea as well. And then of course you have this region scoring, which is okay, but you're not going to have a lot of enforcing. Like somebody's going to be at the bottom map, somebody's going to be at the top of the map, and sometimes you're going to mix over. I think that only makes sense at a higher player count game, because then you are going to have those crossover where you could score an extra 5 points maybe, because now you're interfering with the blue a little bit and there isn't a lot of fighting for that one, so that's easy 5 points to get. But so in a low player count game it's not too brilliant, because you can easily just dominate a couple of the colors and then fight a little bit for the remaining. Like I think when you looked at it, there is obviously like 7 colors. I dominated 4 or 5 of them without contest, because I just had roots going into those colors. And my wife had 2 of them where I wasn't interfering with those colors a lot. So yeah, but the map is quite boring. I don't like the look of the map, the artwork of the map. I don't like that. The extra trains to add 1, 2 or 3 to your turn is brilliant if you use them correctly. I used a good one to drop more cards from train cards and to score higher on the freaking that one. That was brilliant, doing it in the proper way. My wife didn't use any until the end, where I was like, you're gonna use that one. And she's like, why? Because then you overtake me and that's 10 extra points, come on. Have you listening? I don't know if that's just my wife or if that's the weird rule. It is a bit of a weird rule, but it's also a decent addition, changing it a little bit. It's definitely Iberia that's carrying this one, and not so much South Korea, but South Korea isn't a bad map. It's a decent enough map, and I will look forward to playing it again, but mostly at higher player counts. About how player counts, does it like to? Well, components really quick. I don't know, you have cards and you have maps. As I said, South Korea map I'm not crazy about, it's a bit of boring to look at, but Iberia is an absolutely beautiful map, really is. And the cards are really nice looking, even the South Korea ones are nice looking cards. Anyways, so this says 2 to 5 players, 8 and up, 30 to 60 minutes. 8 and up, I will always go 10 for ticket ride, but that's just me. 2 to 5, most ticket rides, all ticket rides almost, play at every player count. So, but both of these have limitations. As I said, Iberia, it's about that second draft. It happens too fast at high play counts and too slow at lower play counts. 3 and 4 is what you're going to get closest to a good amount. 3 and 4, yeah, I would say 3 is best, probably. And then you have South Korea, where again, you want a higher player count to fight for those extra points, because otherwise it's quickly boring. So that's probably 4 or 5. 4 maybe being the best. So it struggles a little bit at player count, this map. I could play all of them at all player counts, definitely, and have a good time. Mostly for Iberia, South Korea not as much. But they definitely aren't brilliant at all player counts. I got some other ticket rides. 30 to 60 minutes is again, it's a ticket ride. You're going to play it in about an hour. I don't know why they say 30, I guess that's for 2 per people who just know the game really well. I always look at like 45 to 60 minutes ish, right? About an hour each. So yeah, the score for this one, it's a difficult one. Iberia definitely draws it up. South Korea definitely draws it a little bit down, but I think we're gonna meet it at a 9. the regular base rating for Ticket to Ride. I just really love Iberia. I really do. I want to love it even more. It's just that player count thing, and South Korea is to me a little bit of another disappointing Asian map, right? The Asian maps haven't delivered to me, if you ask me. Legendary Asia, regular Asia, Japan, India, and now South Korea. It's not because they're bad maps, all of them. Legendary Asia and India and South Korea are decent enough maps. They just go above and beyond, make me really love them. And then you have Asia and Japan, which are just not good maps, brilliant maps. So, but Iberia really drags this one up to that 9 out of 10. Of course I'm keeping it. I'm so close to owning all of Ticket to Rides now. So close. Yeah. But thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!